everyone have one of these worksheets? You guys decided, or at least somebody in here decided anyway, that we will have a quiz on Tuesday, and then a quiz when we get back on the following Tuesday. Okay, it's going to be over this stuff, what you've been doing, factoring, and this worksheet. Of course, you can use your notes during both of them. Every section of this chapter is going to have 2 quizzes. Okay, so just make sure that you are asking. Quadratic trinomial, right? Trinomial means 3, so it has exactly 3 terms. And this is what it looks like. This is what we were talking about with the factoring before. A, B, and C are just any real number. The key for a quadratic is that it has an x squared. And so the greatest exponent is a 2. Okay. And we're going to do a lot of stuff with this. We're going to graph them, solve for them. This is a big part of algebra too, so get used to looking at that thing. FOIL is a method for multiplying 2 binomials. Summarizes the steps and the interesting distributive property, I assume. Okay, and it helps you to remember how to multiply each term in one binomial by each term in the other binomial. Okay, so really all you're doing, and we've already talked about this earlier, but what you're doing is just distributing twice. Okay, FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. Okay, so if you're looking at this thing down here, it's kind of bright. Hold on, let me see something. Is that better or worse? That's worse? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all you're doing is you're taking A, this is the first, and I just think of it as distributing twice. I mean, FOIL is wonderful, but what that stands for is the first in each, and that's the A times C. And then the outer, so like A and D are on the outer sides, and so then A times D. And then we move into the inner, so B times C. And then finally the last, so the last in each of the binomials. I have no idea what they want right there. Usually, I will say, usually these 2 terms can be added together. Okay, that's not always true, but if it's a quadratic, then yeah, pretty much it's going to be true. All right, so are we okay? All right, so we're doing the examples over here. And really, like the FOIL thing, just make sure that you don't mix yourself up. Once we start with this first one, X, right? Just distribute it to both places. Okay, and you're doing FOIL when you do that. But don't jump around because then you may lose one. So X times X is what? X squared. X times -3. Right, then we're moving on to the 2. We're done with the X, right? Moving on to the 2 here. So positive 2 times X. And 2 times -3. Okay, and you should always simplify. Okay, there's never a time that you guys shouldn't be simplifying, in math. So, like I said, usually these 2 terms can be combined, and they can, so then it's going to be X squared. Careful, so just minus 1x, right? Watch your signs. Minus 6. All right, so I think the best way is for you to do number 2, and then I'll write it up here. Make sure you check them. Just make sure you watch your signs. Yeah, okay with everyone? Okay, so what are factors anyway? We kind of talked about this, but what is a factor? Can we define that? Yeah, perfect, that's great. What are multiplied together to give you another number? That's perfect. All right, so then explain what it means to factor a trinomial. So not the steps, but if you have a trinomial and you're breaking it down to its factors, what does that mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have to be fancy about it. Like, well, kind of simplifying it. I mean, it's kind of also like what Leah just said. So, like, what does that mean? Like, you take something and, like, what? You find what? I don't know what the Apex wants, but how about, I'll start you. Find, and I'll even say find 2 expressions. I'll call them binomials. That what? Yeah, that's pretty good, right? Find 2 expressions or binomials that would FOIL, and then I'll say, multiply. Back to give you the original trinomial. What's a trinomial again? 3 terms. What's a binomial? 2 terms. Like, what's a polynomial? Well, that's a monomial. Yeah, what's poly? Well, it could be 5, but many, some, right? A monomial is part of it, but yeah, many, poly is usually many. All right, so then, right, they want us to use trinomial factor or factors. So what do you think? We're starting, we're going in the opposite direction as we did up here. So what were these, if these are our 3 choices, what would these be? Yeah, these are going to be factors, and so we'll just say factor, factor. And then what would we be starting with if we're factoring? Yeah, it's going to be a trinomial here. I don't know what they're looking for in this first one, but constant of the, what is this thing called? Like, we're still using these. Yeah, that's the trinomial. So this is the constant of a trinomial, and it's a constant. Or why is it a constant? Yeah, it doesn't have a variable, so it's always whatever C is, okay? Okay, and if you look back up at the top here, right, we FOILed, but like if you go backwards from here to here, right, we're going to have something that looks very similar to this. So then, when you're back here looking just at letters, P and Q are constants of the, we're still looking at these three. All right, we're talking about like the 5 and the 4. All right, so those are going to be the constants of the factors for the same reason, right? If you look up here, right, they don't have a variable with them, the 5 and the 4, so they are constants. I'm not sure what they're looking for B. That doesn't fit with any of the things they're asking for. All right. All right, so they got rules for factoring down here. It says the product of P and Q is the constant term of the trinomial C. Okay, so, right, they're saying P times Q is what C is. All right, so, right, the example is 2 and 5. This is okay? All right, notice they have, you know, in this general statement here, right, they have plus or minus and plus or minus, right, because it could be either. So then the sum or difference of P and Q is the coefficient of the x term of the trinomial B. Okay, so then P plus or minus Q is going to give us B. All right, if you're thinking back to what we were doing with factoring, right, we would do, excuse me, A times C, and then you would have to think of factors, right? You'd have to think of factors like P and Q that would multiply to give you A times C, and then add to give you B. Okay, so that's what they were just saying that. Okay, so then it's, since they're both positive here, right, it's 2 plus 7. Oh, I'm sorry, plus 5, sorry. 2 plus 5. Is that okay? All right. All right, so now what we're going to be looking at are pluses or minuses. Okay, so write plus or minus in each of the blank to show the signs of B and C. Okay, so the coefficient in this, right, so we're talking about, remember, ax squared plus bx plus c. So what's the the sign of the coefficient b. Right, coefficient's the number. So it's 6, but like what we're looking for right now is that it's a positive 6, right? Basically what we're doing is like, you got to pay attention to your signs for this to work. All right, and then what's the sign of c? Plus again. Okay, and so then notice in here, both of them are going to be positive, right? So if b and c are positive, then both of your factors are going to have a plus sign. Now, they're breaking all this stuff down, like in all these little ways to think about it. But if you just do the way I was telling you before, like the a times c, and you think through that process, then you don't have to remember all this stuff. It just works out. Okay, and that's why I like doing the a times c. All right, but here we go again. So, what's the coefficient of the b term? Minus. And then the coefficient of the c term. So be another minus. So, thinking back to what we did, like a times c would be negative 12. And so that means one of your factors has to be negative. And then you determine which one by how it adds to give you 4, negative 4. And that's why it's negative 6 and positive 2. Is that okay? All right, so b term here would be positive 4, right? Right, because they're saying x plus or minus p, x plus or minus q. That's what they're talking about. Okay. So what about the c term? Right, again, it's negative. Oops, sorry. Right, so same thing. If you do a times c, we have a negative 12, so that means one of your factors has to be positive, and one of them has to be negative. And then we determine which one is which because of the positive 4. All right, so finally when b is negative, oops, and c is positive, right, that means both the signs are going to have to be negative. Because did something happen? Are we still? My mind. I can't tell. No one's answering me, so I think actually that I'm the only one that I just paused time, and I'm actually the one that's still alive. That seems weird. I've been practicing this, Andrew, to do this, manipulating time and space. It hasn't worked yet. Well, apparently it has. It just worked. The problem, of course, is that since I've never got it to work before, I've never tried to undo it. So we may be frozen here for like eternity. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was actually hurt to do, but okay, I got it figured out. I just got to remember to do that next time. All right, here we go. Follow these steps to factor x squared plus 13 plus 12. Again, I would just do it like the way I showed you guys before. They got all kinds of craziness going on over here. But identify c in the trinomial. So what's c in this trinomial? 12, thank you. All right, find all the possible factors, and that's what we're doing over here. Okay, so, right, the way I showed you a times c, think of the factors of that. Okay, and so then they're saying 1, 12, and that would add to give you 13. So what times 6 gives you 12? 2, and so then that 2 plus 6 would be 8. And then what times 3 gives you 12? 4, and 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so that was step 2, just like what we did. I just added a little bit of wrinkle to bring in that A. Same thing though. Since the signs, step 3, since the signs are the same in the trinomial, find the sum of each factor of, oh sorry, I did step 3 over here. list the sum in the correct row of the table. There, so. Sorry, I just got carried away. I like factoring. I used to tell people, I don't tell people this anymore, but since I already brought it up, like, the factoring is, like, very high on the list of my favorite things to do. So, you know, it's kind of just a little insight on me. Number 4, identify B in the trinomial. What's B? 13. Step number 5, find a factor pair in the table, you know, that has the sum of B. Which one would it be? Yeah, 1 and 12. Okay, so then, right, we got all these rules, but then it factors into oops, sorry. Oh, no, you can sit. Okay? So, this is all good and wonderful, but again, the way I like to do it is say, okay, look, A is 1, B is 13, C is 12. Okay, so then A times C is the same as 1 times 12. And then that equals 12. So, like, you know, I don't do the adding thing. I guess maybe that's a good column to have. But then, right, then you just think of all the factors of 12. So then you say, okay, well, 3 and 4, 2 and 6. Which of these adds up to give you 13? We do that. And then we rewrite it, right? X squared plus x plus 12x plus 12. Right, take out an x. We got x plus 1. Take out a 12. We got x plus 1. And then we had x plus 1 and x plus 12. So, same thing, just like a little bit different order of thinking through it. Okay? So, is there any questions on any of this? Yeah.
Isn't that the same thing as when you add the factor?
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Oh.
The answer was exactly the same as the factors.
Okay, so you're talking about the shortcut that I said I'd never tell you.
No,
So, I think that's what you're saying, right? Because what you're saying this is the same as these, right? Yeah, so that's the shortcut on this. Okay, so what I showed you works, and so the shortcut only works, even though I told you I'd never tell you about this, right? The shortcut only works when A is 1. Okay, so yes, absolutely, when A is 1, and that's why it's important to factor out those ones on the IXL, so that you can get A to be 1. So then the factors that you find, as long as you're paying attention to your signs correctly, are the same as the answers down here. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a shortcut. So like now some of these you can go through a little bit quicker, yeah? Okay, but don't forget about all this, because when I throw A as being something other than 1, that always works. Is that okay? Yeah, good eye, good eye. Alright, so here's what you guys can do. I'm going to give you the worksheet. Some of you guys got IXLs that you can still take care of. Okay, and you know, in years before, I do like factoring for like weeks and weeks. Okay, so here, listen real quick. If you're having trouble with factoring, that you're as long as you keep working on it, you're doing fine. Okay, like it does take a second to get the whole plan down. So I don't want you guys to get frustrated. So you are welcome to work on this. You are welcome to work on your IXL if you didn't get those done yet. Monday we'll talk a little bit more about this. So it's not like it's homework, because I believe it was Leah decided for you guys that we were going to do the quiz on not Monday, Tuesday, but then Tuesday, right?